When you start selling on Amazon, it is very important to have the right mindset, and I'll tell you why. You're going to run through many obstacles in this journey. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly all the obstacles that you will be facing as an Amazon seller, especially as a beginner Amazon seller. Obstacle number one is money. You need money to be able to invest in inventory, and this is the inventory that you're going to be reselling on Amazon. If you don't have money, you're going to be stressing the F out because sometimes your inventory doesn't sell quick enough, or there are a lot of different variables that I'm going to be explaining in the future obstacles in this video. But bottom line, you need a stable source of income. I don't care if you work at McDonald's, if you work at a corporate job, you need a stable source of income. Take Amazon as a side hustle to your regular job and not as a full-time job just yet, because Amazon needs time to grow into your full-time job. It's not going to be your full-time job immediately. Obstacle number two, impatience. You need patience to be an Amazon seller. You need patience when your inventory doesn't sell. You need patience when you can't find profitable products. You need patience when Amazon sends you an email that they are now charging you higher fees. You need patience when Amazon tells you that products that used to be really profitable are now gated, meaning it's going to take some extra steps for you to be able to sell on those brands. So bottom line, obstacle number two, have a lot of patience. Obstacle number three is the opposite of obstacle number two, which was impatience. Obstacle number three is eagerness. This is when you're too eager. You start buying inventory, it sells right away, you get carried away, and you want to buy tons of more inventory. And now you're suddenly $10,000 in the hole because you bought a bunch of inventory because you thought it was going to sell as fast as that initial inventory. And now suddenly it happened that you made a lot of mistakes on the way, and now that inventory is sitting. So obstacle number three, eagerness. Do not be too eager. Pay attention to details. Slow down. Do not get carried away. Make sure you're buying the right products. Make sure you're paying attention to all the details, policies, and shipping regulations, and all that kind of stuff. Obstacle number four is gating. Gating is when Amazon requires you to prove that you purchased the items from an authorized distributor. That could be either Target, Walmart, or wholesalers that have been approved by the brand on that listing. Now, there are a lot of products out there that auto ungate, meaning every time you hit that request approval yellow button, they will automatically ungate. But there are a lot of products that require higher amounts of units to get ungated on. It used to be that every product required only about 10 units to get ungated. And now Amazon, for certain bigger and more strict brands, have upped that limit to 100 units, 200 units, 300 units, and even 400 units. But do not despair. These are bigger brands, and as a beginner seller, you shouldn't be sweating that. You should focus on what you can control. And what you can control right now are A, the tons of brands that are still profitable are auto-ungated. B, the brands that only require 10 units to get ungated, and there are a ton of them out there. And if you don't know how to ungate, go watch the video that I have pinned on my YouTube channel, this YouTube channel, and I explain everything on that video. Is 50 minutes long, and I tell you step by step on how exactly to get ungated. Obstacle number four. So now that you have successfully ungated a brand, that means that you can sell on the brand. However, where are you going to find all these products that supposedly are very profitable? Where? Well, There are a lot of ways to find those products. Number one, you can use software for arbitrage, like Tactical Arbitrage, Source Mogul, and there are a few others out there. I personally use those two that I just mentioned. However, online arbitrage software does have limitations. It will give you false results, it will give you inaccurate products, and so you have to be very careful using those and definitely manually review all your results and pay extreme attention. Number two is storefront stalking. This is when you go to your competitors, meaning other storefronts of other Amazon sellers that are doing the same thing that you're doing, online arbitrage, but that have more experience than you do, and who have already found a bunch of profitable products. So you'll go to their storefronts, look at what items they are currently and actively selling, and you will then go and search for those very items on Google and seeing which suppliers have those items low enough that you can turn a good profit margin. Now, this is very time consuming, but you can find a lot of profitable items that way. And another way to source profitable products is to just have them handed to you on a silver tray. And this is where I come from. This is called an online arbitrage list, where you're basically getting a list of profitable products delivered to your email every single day. And then you just need to look at the URL where to buy it, and then sell it on Amazon. And you get all the information that you need. How to buy it, where to buy it, at what cost, at what price to sell it at, and all the necessary notes and coupons. So if you're interested in my leads list, just go on the description below and click on that link. Obstacle number 5 is to decide whether you want to do FBA, fulfilled by Amazon. This is where you ship all your inventory to the Amazon warehouse and they take care of shipping it to the end buyer. They ship it and then they charge you for their service. Or to do FBM, fulfilled by a merchant. And this is where you prepare and ship all the inventory directly to the buyer yourself without sending it to the Amazon warehouse. Each model has their pros and their cons. The obvious con for Amazon FBA is that they charge you extra fees, they hold your inventory, and any customer returns, you don't really have a say. You need to absorb it. The pros of Amazon FBA is that once you ship all the inventory to them, it's off your hands and you can do it while traveling or anything like that. The con of FBM is that it's more work because you gotta do all the work yourself, but the pro is that you have more control over your inventory. You are holding all the inventory in your house or your facility, and you stand more of a chance to, in case of a return, to handle it or negotiate it or get some money back. I would highly recommend, if you're just getting started, start out as FBM, fulfilled by merchant, where you do all the work, because your profit margins are going to be much higher, and again, you're going to be in full control over all your inventory, and you're putting yourself in the best possible situation to learn from all your mistakes. And believe me, you're gonna have mistakes when you're getting started. So you don't wanna have mistakes, and on top of that, not have control of your inventory and depend on Amazon FBA. Amazon FBA, see it as a graduating step once you learn all the ropes. Another big obstacle is to do improper accounting. In the Amazon business, you're gonna have a lot of entries of money and exits of money. And if you don't account for these entries and exits of dinero, you are gonna run into a lot of accounting mistakes. So you might think that you're profiting $10,000 a month, but you are in reality profiting half of that because you're not accounting for supply costs, you're not accounting for hidden Amazon fees, you're not accounting for returns, you're not accounting for the cost of software that you use, etc., etc. So make sure to use accounting software like QuickBooks or Inventory Lab is the one that I use for Amazon, and really pay attention to every single detail regarding the money that you spend in your business. Another huge mistake is to be narrow-minded. Just because one Amazon model is profitable, let's say online arbitrage, and you found after several months of doing this that you are having consistent profitability, doesn't mean that you can't explore other Amazon models like Amazon wholesale or Amazon retail arbitrage. I don't do much of wholesale anymore, but still to this day, if I find out about a good deal happening in store, let's say Target is having a partnership with Kate Spade, which was recent, or Trader Joe's was giving out those cute canvas bags that were reselling really well on eBay or Mercari, sometimes on Amazon, if people jump on the listing. You should also look for those opportunities because they will add to your overall income. Another huge mistake is not paying attention to your most profitable items. So every month or so, go to your storefront, go to your analytics in Seller Central, and check out which of your items are selling the most and are selling the best at the highest ROI and most frequent. You want to do this because chances are that if you're selling really well on those items, they are very likely running out of stock soon. And when that happens, you need to start replenishing them. That means you need to start buying them again from the same supplier, or if you don't find them with that supplier, with a different supplier. But don't wait until you run out of stock, because by then it's going to be too late. Another obstacle, go to your Seller Central and look at all the alerts that you may be getting in Seller Central. Sometimes you get notified that you have stranded inventory, that you have unsellable, unfulfillable items, if you're doing FBA, that need to be returned to you, that you have suppressed listings. So you need to always be logging into Seller Central and always be paying attention to all the alerts that you're getting. That way you know how to manage them. For example, if you have stranded inventory, you might be able to easily solve it by pricing it a little bit lower, because sometimes it gets stranded because it triggers an alert within Amazon that you're priced too high. So if you have room for it, you just price it a little bit lower and it's not stranded anymore. It doesn't have to be returned to you, and you can continue selling it on Amazon. And there are a lot of little things on Seller Central that it can be easily solved if you just pay attention to it. Analyze the inventory that hasn't been selling or that you had troubles of any kind in the past. For example, if you get an IP complaint, this is when a brand does not like you being on their listing and issues you a complaint with Amazon against you, and you have to solve that. Well, that brand, obviously you don't want to sell on that brand anymore. If you had any other type of compliance or policy issues with a brand, just stay away from those brands for future buying of inventory. And also, you don't want to be buying again inventory that was not successful, that has been sitting for a long time. So sit down, download some reports, and start analyzing all the inventory that hasn't been performing for you in the past. Ask yourself why it hasn't been performing, and then try to avoid it in the past, or similar products like that. That might be a future issue as well. Another huge mistake is not using a cashback extension. So when you're purchasing inventory online, you want to always download a Google Chrome extension like Top Cashback or Rakuten and have them on active. So next time that you're buying online, let's say from Kohl's.com, and you purchase $1,000 worth of inventory and Rakuten gives you, let's say, 5% cashback, sometimes even more, you will get $50 back on that purchase. Whereas if you don't have it active, you will get $0. And you can imagine how this can add up to a lot of money once you're purchasing hundreds of thousands worth of inventory per month. So make sure to have those active. Another huge mistake is not using a cashback credit card. For example, if you use a 2% cashback credit card like the Capital One Spark Business, which is the one that I use, every purchase that you make online, you will get 2% back. And if the retailer online allows payment through PayPal, you can even get the PayPal MasterCard cashback that gives you 3% cashback on every single purchase that you make online, as long as you purchase via PayPal. I hope you liked the video today. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel to get notified on future videos. And make sure to keep up the great work.